Weird. All right, bro.
A little raspy.
Yeah. All right. So we're recording now. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Just jump in.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a while. I've been. I just wanted to start off everything by apologizing to everybody. All right, hold on. I am picking up the fan. Hold on, I'm gonna turn it off. Yeah. Okay.
Kill them fans.
Yeah, they're fucking with my mic here. So I just want to apologize to everybody. I've announced that I'm making my move back down to the res. For a short while, I'll be living in my parents' house. It's kind of crazy. I'm back in my old bedroom. It's kind of blowing my mind. But yeah, like the past 2-3 weeks, I've been trying to empty my apartment and get everything out of there, and I've been rushing and going back and forth and trying to keep my recording equipment with me, and it's been a real difficult thing to do. So I just want to apologize to everybody. Like last week, I think it was Amy's podcast. I think I released it on a Thursday. No. I think hers wound up being late on Wednesday, which was still Wednesday, which I can deal with. And then we did our podcast. The one was just me and Sky, and that one I wound up releasing it on Thursday because I couldn't do it on the Wednesday. And now this week, it's Saturday. It's freaking Saturday, and we're releasing. I'm gonna have to try to jump on this, and we'll be releasing late Saturday night, I think. So it's been difficult. Like, been moving out this whole time, and it's like I've been burning the candle at both ends because I'm also still working at Lowe's and stuff. So I'll be working overnight. I'll get home and try to either get some sleep or clear my house. So I've been burning the candle at both ends and been completely disorganized. So
that's crunch time.
Yeah, it's been crunch time. It's been crunch time all week, all month. So so if you guys will bear with me, like this, we're usually shooting to keep some consistency with the podcast, keep it going. It's just been crazy this past month, and I think at some point I'm just gonna have to, I don't know. It's been crazy, so I just apologize. Like, guys, I hope you're still tuning in. I hope you're still interested in what we have to do. And
we're still here.
We're still here. We're still doing this. It hasn't ended.
Transition phase.
Yeah, we're in a hardcore transition phase, and just bear with us. I think we're gonna get it back on schedule once my apartment's empty and clean. I just got to get somebody else to move in, and then I got to come out here officially be out here. I think next week we'll still set up a recording, but man, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. So Sky, you I think we could go on what you were saying.
Think so?
On your subject.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to do that? Let's get into that, because when you reminded me what it was, I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
I could definitely wax poetic on it. So start us off.
Well, where to begin? So, yeah, this is a little different because it's Saturday, and yeah, we've managed to keep a long run with having our shows come out on Wednesday. But yeah. I think this is just, I won't even call it a setback. I think it's just part of what is supposed to happen, with life in general. The things don't always gotta be on the day that you think it's gonna be. Yeah. So, but I did have a few topics that that I've been kind of hinting to Bob about wanting to talk about, but also kind of it was funny when I shot him the idea. I misread it because the topic is rules, and that was pretty much all I said was just rules. That was my response to when he said, "Do we have a topic?"
Yeah.
I misread it. I thought it said like, I don't have much to say on that, and I was like, whoa, like I would think, man, this guy would have a lot to say on rules because, yeah, we kind of seem to have rules, abide by them. Some of them we do, some of them we don't. I mean, it's just in general, there's always rules, and
yeah.
Well, I guess how it came to mind was, I myself I'm starting to get back into coaching more, and I've been past few weekends. I've been, going to gyms and getting back into that setting because we practice in my village, and it ain't a gym. It's a cement slab with the hoop, and
yeah.
So sometimes there's almost no rules at times because like in a game you have to like formally check in, sit by the booth, and wait for them the ref to let you in, and kind of being out of that setting for like a year.
Wow.
Sort of forgetting some of those things, and a situation happened in a game where we were trying to sub in somebody, and we did it just like without going through the player having to go to the table and let them know, hey, I'm subbing, and then the ref calling them in. It was sort of just at our own whim, but we weren't like, it wasn't no harm or nothing, but the ref, he let it slide, but he also kind of gave me a look, and the coach on the other end gave me a look too. But it was like, we weren't, we were moving, but yeah, we kind of overrided the rules, and I get it to where maybe it might be disrespectful to the other coach. Hey, I'm following the rules, why aren't they following the rules? But it was just. Wasn't like cut me some slack. We've been out of this for a while, but it was just kind of like, I'm sorry I broke the rules, but like we got a game to play.
Yeah,
and it didn't like have no momentum. It was just like the ref let it slide. It was all good, but it was just like, do we really need rules if we're playing fairly? But
yeah.
That's kind of like opening up a can of worms because, it can go both ways a lot of times. So, what are rules, and do we necessarily need to follow them all the time? Or, I guess, what is the intention of the rule? And what are rules that we break? And what are rules that we follow,
yeah.
Kind of just bringing it to the podcast and letting you and me chop it up because I think, I don't know, I want to say I'm not a fan of rules, but then I know they're important.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm like, my heart is torn. So what? I mean, what are rules and why do we follow them?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm torn between it too. Like, rules are in place to kind of keep order, I think, so that, and it's also kind of, they're set forth so that when a big group of people come together and say they all know the rules, then stuff works a little smoother. Things go a little better. And when we break the rules, then, bad stuff happens. And one of the examples I was hoping to present here was that sometimes there's bloodshed that causes rules to be put in place. Some rules are written in blood. And I think that's an important distinction because, like at my work, in the earlier days, like I worked for a hardware store. I already spilled the beans on that, but on another hardware store I worked at, when we did our orientation, they were describing how important safety was, and they said, back in the olden days when they first started and first opened, it was a pretty regular occurrence for people to get injured, maimed, or killed in the store. Like every week something would go wrong. And so, there was bloodshed. People were being hurt. People died. And then the rules came after, which, when you got rules like that set in stone, set in blood, like written in blood, and it's like, all right, the whole point of this rule now is to save lives. That's a pretty important rule. It's a rule worth following. And I myself, I'm here years later, and they have these rules in place, and they're like, hey, we need you to stick to these rules. Like wearing a seatbelt on a forklift, you got to wear the seatbelt to stay safe. If the forklift were to tip, you want to be strapped in and safe. You don't want to be, flying out and losing control of this, thousands of pounds machine that can kill people. So, and then, same deal with the car. It's a, 3,000 to 4,000. If you're in a truck, maybe 7,000, 6,000 pound vehicle. That's a killing machine if it's out of control. So on the one hand, you got rules that are set in blood. They're written in blood. They're set in stone, and if we don't follow them, people lose their lives. There's those rules. Speed limits. Speed limits. Stopping for a red light. Slowing down when it goes yellow. If you're in a neighborhood, you're not hauling ass down the road and running kids over. So there's those rules.
Yeah.
But I think some rules are open to interpretation, or they're flexible. So, like the forklift rule, you got to wear the seatbelt. I tend to only wear it when I'm lifting super heavy stuff and I'm going up above. When I'm going up super high. But when I'm down on the ground and I'm jumping on and off the forklift, like I'm stopping, jumping down, working some stuff, getting back on, moving it, and everything's all in ground level, I don't feel, extremely dependent on that seatbelt. So I don't really wear it. It's like something I flex on. But if I were to start moving something big and heavy way to the top shelf, and I can feel the entire, they call it the mast of the forklift. If I feel the entire thing flexing, these giant steel beams flexing and moving with the wind, and I feel the tires lifting up, I want to throw that freaking seatbelt on. And there's a reason they want that on. It's that reason. So there's a flexibility. I think that, all right, when I'm at ground level and there's no chance of the forklift tipping over, maybe I can leave the seatbelt off and, jump off and do some work. Like, to put it on, take it off every couple of seconds just doesn't make sense to me. So, I guess as a kid, I think rules change with age. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a kid and they say, hey, look both ways before running out on the street, that's a pretty damn good rule and you better follow it. If mom or dad tells you you got to do something, clean up, you got to eat your food, whatever, it's a pretty damn good rule. It's followable. There shouldn't be any interpretation. You just do it. As a kid. Then you get older and it's like, all right, maybe there's a little flexible room here. Maybe some rules aren't as important as others.
Yeah, what mama knows won't hurt it.
Yeah. So do you got some examples of some rules that you think are stupid or flexible or maybe some rules that are absolute?
I was thinking of the no diving. I mean, that's not a dumb rule, but like in some pools, there's like it says no diving in this pool because someone might want to dive in that pool.
Yeah.
But maybe it's you're kind of talking about the degrees of rules, and maybe some are laws that we follow, on the road if we're, using a vehicle to get around, I understand that.
Yeah.
But then I'm also kind of like, some rules can just come out of nowhere, and that's the new norm. Would you call us wearing masks?
Yes.
Like, is that a rule now? Like,
well, yeah. Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
No. I mean, as an instruction, and it's you know what I've been kind of like not pointing out, but just sort of like giving people props, but also sort of like, hey, that took a lot of guts to say that, but like if someone's not wearing the mask fully on, or even if they're not even wearing it, but they're supposed to, like if they a worker will have to go to that person and say, hey, I'm gonna need you to put on that mask and blah blah, like give them the spiel, but yeah. An employee might just turn their eye and say, hey, I don't see that, because they don't want to have that confrontation of, I gotta go enforce the rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, so, even me, I got checked by a worker the other day because I didn't have it fully over my nose. And
I can't believe you.
Forgive me for doing that, but yeah, I did it. And
how
she's like, hey, I'm gonna need you to fix your mask, sir. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I listened, but it was just sort of like, man, that's kind of, that's a lot of responsibility to put on somebody. It's almost like a medical procedure you're doing, like, making sure I'm correctly wearing my mask, even though it's not really a part of your job like a year ago. Now it's like,
exactly.
So
they gotta do their job, and then on top of that, try and enforce this thing that not everybody's happy with.
Mm-hmm.
What about when you deal with somebody who is inflexible? Somebody who's like, hey, rules are the rules. They're in place, and you can't argue them. Like, have you ever deal with somebody where they're like, if there's a rule, they just don't do it. They're like, hey, that's the rule. Can't do it. At my work, they had this whole rule of everybody going to their own department to sign in, because there's a computer right next to the locker room. And for the longest time, we'd all just go there and clock in and out. We go right to the nearest computer, clock in, and then get to work. But then there was a rule that went out, and for me, I was like, all right, we work overnight. I don't think that rule applies to us. We're overnight. There's no customers. Like, the excuse they gave was like, all right, we don't want people piling up, having a bunch of employees just bunched up in a department where they're not helping anybody. They're just signing in and leaving. And that was the point they gave us. Like, all right, we don't want people piling up in a department just lined up, making it easy for it to look like we don't give a crap about the customers. And I didn't care about that rule. I went, and I'm an overnight person where by the time I'm getting there, the store's closing down. So I don't feel like that rule applies to me. So I just go in and use the damn computer, the closest one. And I had this guy like start trying to catch me, start like yelling at me, like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing on this computer?" And like to me, he was a new guy, and I was just like, "Dude, get out of my face!" Like, I just kept clocking in and going to work. And he's just like, hey, you need to do that in your own department. Yeah, nice. Thank you. And so this guy was wasting his breath on me, you know. I felt like that, like, all right, guy.
Yeah.
Good for you. You want to stick to the rules, but it just doesn't apply. Like, you're wasting your breath, and I'm not gonna stand here and waste my time listening to you talk shit. Turns out he was a manager later, but I didn't know that. Or I think he was a manager, and when he got hired, he was a regular employee. But the other supervisors were treating him like he was a supervisor too, and even then, I didn't care what he had to say. He's a new guy. He doesn't know how things work. And I was going to take it. I was like, all right, mind your business, pal. I'm going to work. And then I'd clock in and go. I just ignore him several times, too. I just, like, walk by him. Like, hey, get out of my way. Just get out of my way. So, how do you feel about that? Like, there are people out there where you can't tell them otherwise. Like, I used to work with this one guy where he wouldn't help out. He wouldn't help us work because there were rules against what we were doing. But it was like, hey, pal, I told him, like, look, man, some rules you got to know when to break them. Like, that's always been my thing. Like, there's sometimes when you can't follow the rule. If you follow the rules, sometimes it binds your hands where you can't get something done. And I feel like I would rather have an employee that knows the difference than an employee that just will stand there completely frozen because it's against the rules. And he stops working. So, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's there's a Lil Wayne line he says, Mama said, don't bend the rules if they ain't bent already, or something like that. Something to that degree, but I think it's there's what they tell you in the manual, but there's almost like another knowledge beneath that. that is the real truth, you know, that you that doesn't almost follow that. And you kind of got to be able to know the difference, or at least know when you're clogging the drain, or
you're holding shit up.
Or you're playing ball, you know? I remember when I worked at UPS, because everybody they would start you at the level where you don't have to move up. You can just be the worker, but there's always that supervisor position, managerial position where you know somebody when they work with you at the ground level, and then they want to take the promotion. So suddenly, and you think that they would know, hey, I done that job, so I know what that entails. So suddenly you have a guy that hey, you know the struggle, but suddenly your expectation is not representing what this job is. But it was always kind of like, because I'm I'm not the boss, but because I'm one step higher in the ladder, I can say all this verbiage of, I don't know, like, not rules, but just sort of like, I need this, by this, by this. Like, it's just kind of rules, I guess. I mean, maybe there's another word that I'm mistaking, but it's like, you're a higher position now, so what you say kind of has a different value. And I gotta take that in, but I also kind of have this other information that kind of like doesn't really speak to how you're acting now, because it's. But I mean, I get it too, where you move up in the ladder, but you're one step closer to the big man. So I don't know if that changes. I think this kind of goes back to my struggle with wanting to be a boss versus not needing a boss.
Yeah.
Because I think it's all everyone's trying to impress that person. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's like sometimes there's those people that look to see if you're breaking the rule or not following the rule or I don't know. It goes back to that's what reminds me of like Tattletale.
Yeah.
Like little kids, like pointing out everyone that's doing something wrong.
Well, in a place like where I work, they the older people, the people that have been there like forever, like they're 20 years in, 10 years in. It's like I started realizing that some of them that was their crowning achievement of being there that long. They get to tell on people. So like if somebody came in and they had like some beer on their breath, they'd run and tell somebody like, hey, this person's drinking, can't be working. Or, hey, I saw this guy up on a ladder and he went down and used only 2 hands. Like, oh, he, they were getting off on the ability to go and tell.
Yeah.
And after a while, I started teaching that to new employees. Whenever new people come, I'd be like, hey, listen, just so you know, you need to watch yourself around people until you know who they are. Like, you gotta, especially the older people here, you gotta, mind your P's and Q's when you're around these people until you know them, because they're not even gonna say anything to you. They're just gonna run and tell somebody, and then you're gonna hear about it later. So I would tell that to new employees. I was like, you need to be really aware and careful of what you say around the older employees, because they're gonna drop the hammer on you. That's how they enjoy themselves. They're not gonna go, oh, this guy's new, he doesn't quite get the rules yet, I'll give him some slack. Instead, they run and tell. So, it's always been kind of that little bit of struggle there. It's like, man, you gotta watch yourself.
Well, it's almost like I follow the rule, so if I see someone that's not following the rule, I somehow am entitled to disrupt it. But I mean, I don't know. It's like but I guess it's a dirty. I was going to ask you, like, are you having like I mean, you're leaving your work, but is it like we're gonna miss you, or party, or is it just sort of you just parting ways, and there's no, they don't give you a pen or something, no symbolic moment, or
I don't know. I've been having people like say, hey, I heard you're leaving, man, that sucks, like we're gonna miss you here, like we need your help, and if you're leaving, like we're really screwed with these new guys. They don't know what they're doing, and if you leave, it's just one more person we're not gonna have around that knows what's going on. And I've been told that a couple times. I don't think there's gonna be any kind of party. Like, hey, you're leaving, here's some free pizza for lunch. I don't think that's happening at all. I think it'll just be like me leaving in the morning, like, hey, whoever's here, had fun working with you later, and I'm just gonna leave, and that'll be it. Like, walk off into the sunset. Well, it'll be the sunrise, actually, but yeah. So yeah, it's
Have you ever had a job like that where, like, they're sending you off and like wanting good things for you?
I did when we did the the summer program with Dr. Whitty. At the end of the thing, we'd always throw like some kind of like the people in my lab that I worked with, the ones I was assigned to, they'd we'd take us out to lunch, and we'd have like dinner and talk it out, say our goodbyes, the last day.
Yeah,
we've done that a few times. Almost every summer, like people we worked with, they'd throw they'd throw something together for us to say goodbye, which I really liked.
Yeah, no, I guess that's how it should be. But
You?
I guess it's not. Maybe. I'm kind of thinking. No. Well, I think I kind of have like this thing where I sneak out the back door.
Yeah.
I think that's my thing. Where I was never here. Boom. I don't return.
Just disappeared. Like, hey,
yeah.
Where'd that sky go? Sky guy go?
Yeah, I don't know, but he hasn't been to work in a couple of weeks.
He's gonna get fired, man. It's like,
but that's the previous job where I'm there. I mean, they would like throw parties. I'm thinking you work with somebody closely, but I mean, if there's that time to have a party, they'll have a party. But and the job setting where you're at, it's just kind of get the job done, and it's never ending.
Yeah.
So
I think when you, I think I've said this before. When you work with people like side by side doing the same job, you kind of get a feel for who they are, the type of person they are. And sometimes you work with real pieces of shit, but like at the same time, sometimes you kind of make a point to work with people you enjoy their company with, like you have good conversations. And I've had plenty of people like that where when they found out I was leaving, it's just like, oh man, like I'm gonna miss you. Like we'll have to do something later or something. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna be tough to do this job without you. Like, and they've sought me out and I've sought them out. Like, hey, yeah, I'm taking off. Like, I'm gonna miss you guys. Like, it's been fun.
Yeah,
had some laughs. Sometimes having somebody you enjoy working with gets you through long dry periods of hardcore work where it's just like, oh, like this is gonna suck, but at least I got you to fucking work with. This will be fun. It'll be okay. We can get through it. I think
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I think I've saddled up with a few of my bosses, like where we got friendly to the level where if they had an issue, they'd come and complain to me, and like if I got an issue, I'd complain to them, and then that was like our thing. Like we'd see each other and go, another day, like here we go.
Yeah.
Or, like check this bullshit out, like look at what they fucking said to me about this, and how it is, it's like. They're full of shit and they're not here watching what's going down. They just show up and judge us on what they see when they get here, but they weren't here when we got 2 trucks in the same night and 3 people called out. They're still holding us to the rules. And then people get written up, and they're good people, they're good employees that are getting stuff done. But instead, now they're getting written up. Now they're, getting in trouble because of the rules. When it's like, hey, a lot of times I come across rules and I'm like, what? That's a stupid ass rule. I'm not gonna follow it. That's a stupid rule.
Yeah.
Somebody just came up with this rule and I think it's stupid. Like prime example, we have work phones. We have work phones at work.
Like cell phones.
Yeah, they're scanners, they're walkie-talkies, they're you can look up items and shit. Like they do all this functional stuff for work, and we all pull them. So like they're all located in one location. And when you start your shift, you go pick up a phone. And for the longest time, they were just out. Like they had like a section and like chargers set up. And you just walk up, pick up a phone, put your name tag down, and you walk away and get to work. Well, somebody somewhere set up this rule where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna lock these phones up." I guess either people were stealing them or they couldn't keep track of them. Whatever. Somebody, a small group of people ruined it for the rest of us. Which happens. Rules get rules get made for that. So, like, what ended up happening was they wound up locking our phones up in a cabinet. So now, all of a sudden, the only way you can get a phone is if a manager's nearby. So say there's no manager. Do I stand around for 15 minutes hoping somebody shows up, or do I just go to work and now I don't have a phone? Now when a customer wants me to tell them a price for something, I can't scan it and tell them. You know, and the ultimate rule above all was, hey, give good customer service. And now, because they added this new rule, our customer service goes down. Yeah. And that's one of those things where I'm like, oh, this is a stupid fucking rule. And I would tell my bosses, like, hey, this is really fucking stupid. Now, when I try to leave for work, I have to leave this phone on a shelf and not put it away because there's no manager to unlock the damn box. So it's like, this is the dumbest fucking rule I've ever heard of. So, I mean, there is a difference. And I feel like you gotta... I think when you get older, you start realizing there are rules that don't make any sense. There are rules that you can bend, flex, and maybe sometimes break. And I think if you're incapable, like maybe you're younger and you're too afraid to break the rule, then that's just how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, following the rules won't always get you the maximized result or exceeding the expectation, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm thinking of like beware the dog. Like, you're not gonna jump over the fence because if they say there's a dog back there, and I don't know. So I mean, I get it to where some rules are set in place to like keep you from living, and those rules are important. But then I think there are some rules that are too tedious, and they kind of disrupt what's supposed to happen. And then, but you're following the rules. You know, I think that's a tough job to be I guess like when it comes down to like being a judge, where you're actually like making those calls, or really defining that line of what it means or what it doesn't mean. But I don't know. I guess I think of like I mean, not all perspective of like, you know, like getting your job done and having to maybe cut a couple corners just so it flows right, but yet the rule is you can't cut corners, you know. But I don't know, man. I thought I was gonna be on the side of not liking rules, and yet I'm kind of like, I'm kind of glad we have them. But then, I guess some people are better at following rules than others.
Yeah. How about the rule of not killing your fellow neighbor? Don't kill people. Is that a pretty good rule? I would hope when somebody decides they think I should die, but they're like, oh, it's against the rules, I would hope that's a rule followed, you know? That's a rule I could get behind. Cops shouldn't be killing, you know, citizens. You know? And they have rules in place to keep them from doing that. And when they don't follow that, people die. So there's a ton of rules I'm all for. And you know, I think it comes like rules are for us humans. Like there are no rules in the animal kingdom, you know? Like, the dog, it has to pee outside. The dog's gonna pee when it needs to pee. You know, like a puppy.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right.
Huh.
Like think about that. Like rules are made by people.
Yeah.
We have rules.
You can get a dog to follow rules, right?
Yeah, but it's still a human concept. The dog just doesn't want to be kicked, you know.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't want to be yelled at for pissing on the carpet, you know. So starts listening to it, but the dog's like, well, I don't know why I can't piss on that comfy stuff. Like, what's going on here? Like, I think it's a real human concept, and we're the only ones that benefit from it. Really, rules.
You know what rule I never liked was and this is I don't know, hypothetical, but like when you get in the stories, it's like you get 3 wishes, but you can't wish for more wishes. Like,
yeah,
that was the first thing I was gonna wish for, you know. Yeah. But so rules kind of set a level of maybe fairness for others. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I mean, I think of like the speed limit, like that. If there was no rule on how fast you could go, that might be kind of dangerous. You know, for a lot of people, not. And the fast cars that are going, probably. Man, you can't imagine how fast people would go if there's no I guess law enforcement or sort of, I guess, upholding the rules and how fast you go on the road.
Yeah.
Totally lost my train of thought where I was going, but yeah, I mean, they do kind of set a level of safety, I guess. That's a kind of key component of why rules are rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's because I'm starting to think of we used to have group rules when I was running groups before COVID, and we had group rules.
Yeah.
And this is something we did to start the day with the youngins, you know, like what are the group rules?
Yeah.
So, and they're very simple. You know, sharing is caring. Keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah. Walk in a line.
Well, I was going to bring that up too because at school, and they didn't have this back in our day. I mean, at least I don't remember, but and they're actually wearing like neon vests. But I'm not too sure if the school was like under construction, and there's a lot of like construction sites. But they nominate a line leader and a line kind of backer, and they wear these neon little jumper vests, and they're the line leader. And they're walking through the campus, and the kids are following the rules. And I don't know, it's cute, but then I mean I don't know. It's just now again it's nominating somebody to have that responsibility to be the. It's just like in sitcoms where they have the monitor, the hall monitor that. You know, where's your hall pass? You know, where's your pass? It's sort of like because I have this new title, I can ask you these questions, or I can throw these behaviors, but just sort of like, you know, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. I don't know, it's just, Yeah, I don't know where I'm going, man. I'm just...
Well, let's talk about Karens. You know that expression now? This new expression that people are Karens?
Yeah.
Some people are going around and they're using rules to harm others. Like, oh, this is the fucking rule. Or maybe they're, there's a mandate to wear a mask and then they're not wearing a rule and they're throwing a fit, like, causing trouble, making a scene. Like, oh, I don't want, screw your rule. I'm an American.
Yeah.
Like they're freaking out, like, or like, I was trying to think of a good example of somebody hurting somebody because they thought they were following the rules and maybe the person who they hurt wasn't following the rules. And I can't think of one. I think of like people who go and, like that guy who followed that kid, like he thought he was coming around his house and messing with his shit, so then he started following the kid, and like in his mind he was doing the right thing. He's like, oh, I'm gonna follow this kid and make sure he stays out of trouble. But he winds up killing the kid, and it's like, motherfucker, after a certain point, you're following this kid. You're going out of your way. He has left your neighborhood, and you are still following him, and now you're going to kill him?
Wow. So then, I guess, what is your thoughts on, like, citizen arrest? Like, someone taking the law in their own hands? And
good one. I've seen it go both ways. And that was the example right there. This guy saw a black kid in a hoodie, thought he had something in his hand, followed him, killed him, and it's like, oh, I'm a good citizen. He just killed a kid. And he thinks of himself as a good citizen. Then I've seen people with a concealed carry permit for their gun. They see a crime happening and they go join in. Like somebody's trying to, rip a lady out of her car to steal her car. And then somebody who saw that is following the rules. They have a concealed carry permit. They have their gun on their person, and they see somebody else breaking the law, like trying to beat up a woman, and they pull their gun, roll up, say, hey, get away from him, and then the guy tries to leave, and he tackles him and holds him at gunpoint until the cops get there. That I'd say that's a good rule. Like, I think it could go both ways. The same scenario. Somebody doesn't have their concealed carry, but they have a gun, and they go to stop somebody. They hurt somebody, and maybe they weren't in the right. Like, I've seen it where, somebody citizen arrested somebody who was trying to assault somebody else, and then that person got held and accounted for. They went to jail, and it was because somebody else stepped in and, held them to the rules. And I don't know if there's a citizen arrest rule. Like, it's kind of a joke now. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. I think that's the way I see it played out is.
I'm citizen arresting you, and it's like,
yeah.
Get out of my face, person, whoever you are.
What? No, I'm thinking of I don't know, somebody that wants to go that far and enforce the law or enforce rules. Like, that person is not favorable. I mean, they're not almost, I don't want to say they're not liked, but it's just kind of, somebody doing that could come off as, unnecessary.
Yeah.
So, I guess that feeling of unnecessariness is that because we don't like rules, or is that because we don't like people telling us the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, because, like, we know the rule. So we don't need no one else to tell us the rule. But again, there are those, you said Karens, and it's kind of that same energy of a citizen arrest where someone's going out of their way to cause a disturbance.
Yeah.
Or cause a alternate situation, because it's like at the end of the day, there are people that are following the rules, and then there are some that are kind of following them, and there's some that are not following them at all. But I mean, I guess maybe that's where religion comes in. we're like actually counting, like, oh, how many times did I mess up? Or, like, how many rules did I break, or how many rules did I not break, or do I even care? I don't know. I mean, I think that's a side note, but I think it's also kind of like at the end, like I said, like when it's all said and done, like, are you in the negatives or in the positives with, you know, how many rules you're breaking versus how many rules you're following?
Yeah.
And does it even matter at the end of the day? Maybe, possibly. But in the moment, sometimes it just seems... well, I think it's with the training, you know, like, we're like, are we just that, is it just me being lazy or following an extra step, or that I really see no value in it, and I feel I'm being pushed versus hey, that's not a bad rule. I wanna follow that rule, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. How about the rule to not impersonate an officer? Like, I just saw this whole news report not too long ago about this sheriff. He had just gotten off of duty. He's driving home, and then he sees, he's in his cruiser, but he's off shift. He's off duty, and he sees another cruiser, and he saw something that was just a little bit off about it. I think it said like a rescue. It was a police car, but it said like emergency medical service, and police officer on the same vehicle. And he goes and he pulls his vehicle over, and the man inside has a uniform, a badge, the computer. The cop car has all the lights, like the hidden lights. It's got tinted windows. It's got the insignias. It's got like the reflective tape on the bumper. It says 911. It has all these things, but this guy is not a police officer. He was just driving around. He had a computer. Like he had the whole setup. He was all decked out. What was this guy doing? What was he getting away with? Like there's a rule about not impersonating officers because there's power that comes with that position. You know, you get that badge, you get that uniform, and people look at you differently. They start listening to what you had to say.
Yeah.
But there's a rule, like, hey, you do that, that's a felony. Impersonating an officer, that's a felony. It's a felony for a reason. It's very dangerous. So there's a rule against it. You know, there's a rule. And if there weren't that rule, maybe more people would be doing it.
But that's even one step further than citizen arrest. That's kind of like... So, see, then, now that's asking for trouble, because then... I mean, and again, I don't know if that's just the way we see cops, but, like, there's always kind of a negative connotation, not connotation, but just negative. Like if they're there, it's easier to think it's a negative situation versus a positive one. So for somebody to pretend to do that and just kind of, I don't know, stir up. I don't know, it's just everywhere you're going, you're kind of bringing that energy. But, I mean, I think of like mall cops or mall security where, you know, they kind of, I mean, there's a movie about, like, they're just joking about it, like was it the mall cop? You know, it's just kind of, it's like not, I mean, nothing against people that do that, but there's, like, somebody will belittle that because it's not a cop.
Yeah.
They're doing kind of the same duties, and they're patrolling, and they're making sure that everything's safe. So,
yeah.
Again, is it the fact that we don't like rules, and this person is not a cop, but yet they're still kind of enforcing rules.
Interesting.
So we kind of will joke about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. Like like on Paul Blart, he was trying to give that old man a ticket. He's like in a scooter, and he's like, "Hey, sir," and he just starts going, and he's like, just starts running him over, and he's holding on to the bag, and he's dragging him. He's just like, get him out, you fucking mall cop. And he just starts going. He's trying to give him a ticket. He's like, this doesn't count for shit. What, you to take me to mall jail? Like, get the fuck out of here. He starts taking off, and Paul Blart's like hanging on and getting dragged, and it's like, does that count? You know, like he's never going to enforce that ticket. But he has the job, he has a position. It's So we're talking about rule enforcement now, right? Like who's people out there enforcing the rules on others?
Yeah, I think so.
And some people have the right, and others don't. Like what if you're like see somebody speeding and you catch them at a light and like, hey, don't do that. They're like, hey, fuck you, eat a bag of dicks. You know, like I'm not interested in what you have to say. It's like, hey, it's the rules for a reason. Don't speed, please. And they're like, they flip you off and they speed off, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly a citizen's arrest.
No.
But it's like, please, sir, follow the rules because I would like to get home safe tonight.
Yeah, but I think that's the lack of like we don't know each other.
Yeah.
On the road, so it's like maybe if it was coming from like somebody that I respected and they were like, hey, you should really slow down. Like, man, this person cares about me. Hey, maybe I might ease up off the pedal. But like, if it's just some stranger saying, you know, slow the fuck down, like, damn, like, who are you to tell me how fast to go in my car? Like,
yeah.
So I mean, there's this. I guess there's this entitlement of breaking the rules or not breaking the rules. So it's almost like, let me do what the F I want versus tell me what to do. But I mean, I think maybe that's something where we're defiant, you know, where we have that, not tolerance, but we have that objection of authority.
Yeah.
And someone being authoritative and they're not even in any position to say something besides caring.
Yeah.
And then why the hell are you talking? So, that's only if our cars could talk to each other, you know.
Our cars?
That was pretty cool. Yeah, like vehicles kind of like communicated with each other on the road, so it was more
interesting
structure, and everybody was kind of getting what they wanted, but it was only because the cars were cooperating better.
Yeah, like if a car is going real fast, it's like, hey, anybody who's ahead of me is going slower than this miles per hour, please get over. That'd be interesting. I've heard of like smart roads. I mean, there's definitely smart cars out there, but I don't think we're there yet. Nobody's coordinated this change. But like, I've heard of like smart roads that light up and like tell you if you're speeding, or they blink, you know, if you're going over the lines.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. Like, hey, there's people in the walkway, so it starts blinking. Like, I've seen some weird shit, and maybe that's very futuristic or it'll never happen, but I thought it was interesting to learn about.
But I think in driving, there's a lot of rules, like, kind of visible. You know, just, like, there's so many rules. Like,
yeah, there's a ton.
That you're kind of following. Just got me thinking of, like, road rage.
Yeah.
Some people have.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just hear some people say, like, I get pissed, and I'm probably the one pissing them off on the road.
Yeah.
But, you know, road rage is a thing.
Yeah.
But is it because of the rules?
Yeah. All right, so here's a contradiction, and it's in me. I think it makes me a bit of a hypocrite. Hypocritical here. When I first started driving, my mom would be, you know, sitting in the passenger seat, and she's like, the speed limit is 65, and I'm like, you know, those aren't really set in stone. They're more of a reference of the speed I should be going about. I should be going about 65, but if I'm going 70, 75, so what? You know, like, it's a reference. But I got two examples where it's fucked up. So, first of all, my parents, they got a house. My family, they have a house in Tucson. It's over by Davis Mountain Air Force Base, and they're in a pretty thick neighborhood where it's just a bunch of streets up and down that's just lined with houses. And there's cars all the time. Usually the same people, but there's cars all the time. Like, just hauling ass up these roads. Like, the rule, I know it's in Arizona. I don't know if it's everywhere, but the rule is, if you're in a housing area, like a place where there's houses, residential is 25 miles per hour max. Yeah. And if there were a school or a playground, I'd drop it down to 15, right? Like a school zone.
Yeah.
And let's say even a bus, when the sign's out, you don't go past them.
Yeah.
Because kids are coming off.
Oh yeah, no, that's
all right. So that's important, and it's like, yes, absolutely. When these people go hauling ass down my street, all I can think is like, all right, my kid goes outside all the time. Like, I don't really let them out front because for that reason. There's all these people hauling ass. But like, there are kids that are older, and they're definitely going to be outside. They're going to be playing basketball, you know, with their hoop pulled up to the side of the road, and they're in the street. And they think they're safe, but then, you know, there's a car coming 50 miles an hour down the road. I want to run out there and yell at them and cuss them out, like, hey, like, slow the fuck down. Yeah. All right?
Wow, you're right.
And that's a speed limit. So I'm on Highway 86 going 70, 75 miles an hour. I don't feel the same way. I'm like, it's a reference number. But in a neighborhood, when children's lives are on the line, it's like, hey, slow the fuck down. Slow your roll down. Slow that shit down, because you're going to hit somebody. You're going to kill somebody. Maybe even my kid, if you're not fucking careful. Alright? And then, just beyond our neighborhood, still, this is why I brought up Davis Mountain, there's shift changes on the base, and all these pilots, they live in the neighborhoods around, probably the same neighborhood that I'm living in. It's probably them hauling ass down the road. But they all drive like either big ass trucks or fast ass little cars. And whenever their shift changes, there's cars that are leaving the base or going to the base, and they're fucking flying. And it's like, bitch, it's almost like these pilots still think they're in the air, you know? They get out of their jet, and they're used to, you know, going, you know, 500 miles an hour. They're flying up in the air. Then they get out of their jet, and then they get in their car, and they drive the same way. But there's people down there on the streets with them. So it's like all the time there's these accidents, and a lot of times it's not even the pilots that get in accidents. They like force people off the road, or you know, make people nervous, and then they make a mistake and they cause an accident.
Oh yeah. And
it happens all the fucking time. They live off of golf links, and golf links is like right in front of the base, the main entrance into the base. Mm-hmm. And all the time, man, like clockwork. And it is clockwork. It is people clocking in and going to work. And they're fucking hauling ass down the road. And it's like, bitch, you need to slow down. There are other people on the road here with you. You need to slow the fuck down. My mom described these two pilots that were assuming they're pilots. They came off the base. They were in uniform. And they were, you know, whizzing in and out of traffic. That's how you usually tell it's them. They're whizzing in and out of traffic. They're going real fast in their stupid-ass little cars. And they're like, she said she saw these two guys. They both went to pass a slower-moving vehicle. And they went on both sides of her. And then when they tried to come back into the middle lane, they hit her. They, like, smashed her car on both sides. Dang. With both vehicles. And instead of getting out like, oh ma'am, are you okay, they went and checked out their own cars. You know, it's like there was I don't know what you call that, just disregard for the rules. You know, it's so I'm a hypocrite. Like I'm like, oh, that, you know, on a highway speed limit's a reference number, but in a neighborhood, in a crowded, you know, street, regular road, there's rules. There's a speed limit that actually makes sense. You don't want people flying by your house at 50 miles an hour when your kids are out there. You know, they're coming out of the cars, maybe they're checking the mailbox, and there's cars going 50 miles an hour where they shouldn't be. You know?
Yeah.
People die.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah. And it makes me a hypocrite. Because I think the housing speed is correct. I think the regular road, you know, the road on the streets, the city streets, I think those speed limits are correct. 40, 45. I've seen some that are 50 when they're a little bit further out. But then you get on a highway, it's like, all right, go fast. You're on a highway. There aren't kids. There aren't, you know, there may be animals, but there aren't very many people out there with you. And when they are, you either pass them or you slow down. So, I mean, I think there's one thing that almost all of us can agree with is the street rules of the road.
Yeah.
If you're in the fast lane and you're going slow as fuck, you get the hell out of the fast lane. You don't just keep driving for 100 miles while there's a bunch of people, you know, stacked up behind you.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, people that go slow on the road.
Yeah.
When you can go fast, they still go slow. You get mad at them, but
yeah.
But then it could be a dangerous situation too, where all these cars are going fast and you're the only one not. I don't know. It's like maybe rules only work when everyone's following them. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I think you just hit it on the nose there, my man. My mom in California has gotten tickets for going too slow. Like, we'll be on the freeway and it's 75 and we're going like 65, and she got a ticket for going slow. And the guy's like, look, you're going too slow. Everybody's going fast around you. You're putting people in danger. She's like, well, the speed limit's that. He's like, Yeah, but everybody else is going this fast. You need to go that fast. Like that's another thing that, you know, I think there's a lot of common sense that plays into whether or not you follow rules. And one of the things that always stuck with me when I first started driving was something my mom said to me about freeway driving. And she said, whenever you're on the freeway, you want to go fast enough. You want to go slow enough that you're not running people over, but you want to go fast enough that people aren't ramming into the back of you. And that always seemed to kind of override speed limit. It's like, all right, if everybody's going 70 and you're going 60, there's an issue. You know, so she said you need to go fast enough to either stay ahead of people or, you know, not get rammed from behind. And then you need to go slow enough that you don't run people off the road. You don't run over them. And that's always stuck with me.
But with that logic, then you're right with the speed limit being a reference, because it's
yeah, exactly. So again, I put it to you that I'd rather have citizens that are wary enough or have the wherewithal in their brains to make this a proper decision. If I'm in a neighborhood, maybe I should go a little slower. If I'm on the freeway, maybe I should speed up a little because I'm slowing people down and making it a dangerous situation where cars start to pile up. I would want citizens, employees, and everybody else to know when to break the rule and when not to. I want my firefighters to be willing to run into a house when they're not supposed to because there's a kid in there. You know, like there's times and a place. There's a time and a place. For when a rule has to be broken. And if you're one of those people who can't break rules, then a kid just died. You know, like I would rather people know when to break rules and when not to. I'd rather that than everybody just follow the rules. I think following the rules in certain situations can be just as dangerous as not following them.
So which ones do we follow?
I don't know. Use your head. Use your head and try not to get killed. You know.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Do your best. Do your best not to get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they say? A good rule of thumb. Or do your best not to get killed.
Whatever rules it is, whatever you do, try not to die and try not to kill anybody. I think it's a good day of rule following when nobody dies. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good day when nobody has to die for somebody else's mistake. Somebody else not following the rules. Or following them. You know, that, like I said, it could be just as dangerous to follow rules. Sometimes. Certain situations. It was like that guy I was telling you about I was working with. I guess he had a real hardcore military father. And his father was always like, oh, the rules, and would beat his ass if he didn't follow the rules. So then here I am at work going, hey, man, I know the rules say this, but sometimes if that shit's about to fall, or if I need you to move something, you need to move it. I want you to break the rules so that we can keep things moving here. And he could not do it. He became completely dysfunctional. He's like, no, because this is the rule. I can't do that. I'm like, look. Like like he was also complaining about people not liking him, and I was like, look, guy, like some of the reasons that people have an issue with you is because you're not functioning along with them. You're so hard up with the rules. You're not a functional person. You're not helping out when we need you to. We need you to break this rule every now and then to get the job done. And he's like, no, it's just the rule. This is a rule here. I can't break that. You guys are breaking the rule. I'm not going to break the rule too. And it's like, well, that's why people don't want to be around you. And eventually I stopped being around him too. Like I thought I could get through to him and explain this to him. Hey, there's going to be times where I need you to break the rule. Like sometimes you got to. I was trying to teach him that. Sometimes you got to. And he could not do it. He would not do it. He was too traumatized by his father to ever break rules. And it made him kind of dysfunctional. People didn't want to be around him. And eventually I didn't want to be around him. So he's going to live a sheltered, lonely life because people don't want to be around somebody who just follows the rules. Which is weird. Because ultimately I think rules are just there to help. There to keep us safe. There to keep order.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people who breaks rules. And for future employees, please still hire me. I do it with good reason.
Well, I think that's where it's like. I mean, I think you can break rules just to benefit yourself.
Yeah.
But then you could break a rule that really isn't that significant, and no one's going to care, regardless if they saw it or didn't.
Yeah.
And because there is a little dishonesty in breaking it, I guess, because it's a rule.
Yeah.
Someone's going to enforce it, or someone's following it, so you're expected to follow it. So by not following it, there is a little bit of I'm not doing that. I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. So I guess in a group of rule-following people, like let's say the military, I probably wouldn't be a good fit. I think I was told once that I wasn't Marine material.
Oh.
I was trying to get recruiters to call me, and it got to the drug using question, and I was like, they asked if I ever smoked marijuana. I was like, yeah. And they're like, how many times? I was like, I don't know how many times. I never kept track. And he's like, well, I need to write a number. You did it 5 times? I was like, yeah, I did it 5 times. Have you done it 10 times? Yeah, I've done it 10 times. Have you done it 20 times? Yeah, I've done it 20 times. And he's like, well, do you at a certain number? Do you have a number that I can write down? I'm like, no, because I never kept track. I didn't count every single time. And he's like, and then at some point I was like, look, just put 20. Like, we just kept going back and forth, and I was like, look, just put 20. And he's just like, no, I don't think you're Marine material. And I was like, well, maybe not. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, pal. Like, I'm trying to be honest with you. I don't want to start my military career in a lie. But, I either had to lie and say, no, I never smoked. Or I say, yes, I smoked, but I don't have a number for you. And eventually it just came down. He's just like, yeah, I don't think you're Marine material. And I was like, oh, I guess not.
Oh, man.
I guess not. Maybe the Army will take me. I don't know.
Well, so rules are kind of like you're conforming almost. You're
stepping in line.
You're following in line. You're doing what everyone else is doing, but in a time or in a place where we also are encouraged to be our individual self and be this one-of-a-kind thing that's separate from nobody else. So if everyone else is following this rule and I'm different, I need to break the rule.
Yeah.
So I think my takeaway is if the rule doesn't justify who you are, then you might need to break it. But there are some rules that that keep you safe and that keep you out of harm.
Yeah.
But I guess it's, kind of always being on your guard of, what rules you need to be actually following. Because, what if you follow a rule your whole life and that at the end of the day, at the end of the road, it's like, oh, you really didn't need to follow that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe some rules aren't worth following versus the ones that are will keep you safe or alive. I don't know, but I guess following your heart, your moral compass, and that might actually make you break rules. So,
yeah.
At the end of the day, who's counting? But if you're somebody where you don't want to be breaking them, then actually knowing them. Because maybe sometimes we break rules and we don't realize we're breaking them. What about that? Is that a sad thing?
Oh, it happens all the time. People go to court over shit like that. They're, sorry, Your Honor, I didn't know that was the law. It's like, oh, well, ignorance of the law doesn't make it okay. That's what they say. It's like, okay, how am I going to follow a rule I didn't know existed? I was breaking the law, sure, but I didn't know I was. Okay.
So acknowledging the law, acknowledging the...
Knowledge or ignorance of the law. The rules. I'm saying law, but I mean rules. All right, I got a question for you. It's kind of like let's close it out here. What kind of world would you rather live in? A world without rules, a world with rules and everybody follows them, or a world with rules that people mostly stick to?
I would say rules that people mostly stick to. Like I said, like some rules we need to break just to keep our sanity or our identity.
Do you have an example of that?
I don't know.
You mentioned keeping your sanity. Do you have an example of that?
I always think of the Office Space where the lady's working at I can't remember the restaurant, but they gotta have like
it was tchotchkes.
Yeah, and they gotta have the certain amount of pins and
it's flair. It's flair.
Yeah, flair. Yeah. Well, so I don't know. There's like sometimes being an overachiever isn't worth being an overachiever.
Yeah.
So by not doing the rule, you're actually showing more of yourself than somebody that will follow it blindly and just hear what do what you say. So it's just like I say jump, you say how high, kind of like why are we jumping? Why do you need me to jump? So if that compromises who you are, and you don't know why you're doing the things that they're telling you to do, it might be something worth not following. Because, man, I think at the end of the day, like you got to be like happy with yourself, be able to look yourself in the mirror and be like, that's who I am. But like, if you're only doing something because it was a rule and you didn't agree with it either, it's just. Again, your sanity, because most of the time rules are from another source. Like, do you have your own rules? Like, I'm trying to think of some of my rules. Maybe I need my own rules or do we follow our own rules? I don't know. Like, or is that our moral compass?
Interesting. I got a little story here, a little tidbit, and it always stuck with me. There was a time where I was trying to get in the military, and I just overheard this story. I don't know how it came to me. Maybe it was from a movie. Pretty sure it was an actual situation, but there was this young guy who wanted to work on a submarine. So he goes to the office of a submarine commander, and he's like, hey, I mean, he didn't just say, hey, but, you know, in whatever way he put it, he said, I want to be on your submarine. I want to work in your submarine. And the commander said, okay, get in that closet right there. So the guy got up and got in the closet. And then the commander just left him there. Just left him in the closet. And he didn't say anything to him, nothing else. The guy got in the closet, and then maybe like 3 hours later, he kind of stuck his head out. He's like, how long do I have to do this? And the commander's like, look, you're not going to be on my submarine. He's like, oh, why? What did I do wrong? And he's like, well, if somebody asks you to do something and you don't ask questions immediately, I don't think you're going to bring attention to me when something goes wrong. If you're doing your job on my submarine and you don't ask questions immediately when, you know, something happens, if you don't bring it to my attention, then you could endanger all of us. So that guy didn't get in because he followed the rule. He did what his commander told him, but he didn't ask any questions. So that always stuck in my head. It was like, hey, get in the closet. He's like, okay, get in the closet. He just stayed in there and didn't say anything. So he left him in there. I was just like, all right, you're going to blindly follow every rule, or you're going to ask some questions.
Yeah.
Like, what if you're supposed to do this, and then you notice something, or you're just going to, you notice a little dot on the, you know, the sonar, but you don't raise any questions. You're just like, oh, I got to do my job. I'm not going to ask anything. Then the submarine gets attacked because nobody brought it to the attention. You know, it's like, I think there's a balance. I want to live in a world where people are smart enough to know when and when not to break the rules.
Yeah.
People govern themselves to a point that they're living an okay life, and that we're also trying to keep each other safe by following the rules when it's not just. A lot of people will say negatively, "Oh, when you follow the rules when it serves you correctly." That's like a negative thing they're going to say to you, like, "Oh, so you're just going to follow the rules when it serves your purpose?"
Yeah.
I think it's more. I'm sure I've had that said to me before, but I'd rather see it this way: is like, look, there are some rules that need to be broken at certain times. And when I deem it's that time, I do it. I'll break a rule. The drop of a hat. If that's the situation, I want to be smart enough to know when that time is. And I would expect the people around me to know that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's it, man. We solved it.
Case closed. Case closed.
Another one. They're important, but I think knowing when to question it and justify it is kind of the real rule, I guess. So I guess what are there any rules that we need to follow that we don't follow? I don't know, but
I just think that when I think of a world where there's all these rules and everybody follows them, I think there's a conformity going on there, and I think there's a control happening, and I think of dictatorships. If you don't have independent thinkers, people, making decisions for themselves, I think it goes along the lines of what you said about keeping your sanity, and I think it also keeps your individuality. And if you just conform, I think if you're one of those people that just follows the rules to a painstaking degree, I think you would be perfectly happy in a dictatorship. And you should go right ahead and do that. But that's not for me. And I don't know if that's like a native spirit or an American spirit, but I think that's the kind of world I want to live in, where the citizens have the ability to make that call. And I think if we ever lost that ability, where we just follow the rules and do just that, I think we will go from being a free nation to a nation of control.
Wow.
A dictatorship. What do you think about that?
I mean, I see it, but I think there's just, a very, I don't know, maybe a common ground where we're just not so focused on the rule, but just kind of knowing that everybody supports each other.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes maybe the rules are there because everyone's turned against each other.
Yeah.
So there's rules that can be broken or can be bent at certain times because it helps that person. You know, maybe it's not such a big deal for everybody else because we all support each other.
Yeah.
But
I like that.
But I don't think that fits the American side of things. Where we're very individual, and we can easily just throw out the rule book and be like, "Hey, you're breaking this rule, you're breaking this rule," but yet it's not why. It's not asking why you're breaking it or what for. So I mean, well, sometimes rules keep the little guy down, or maybe some rules do actually give people a better advantage over another person. So, I mean,
that happens all the time.
So, I mean,
sometimes you got evil people writing the rules in order to take advantage of people who are going to wind up following those rules, and then they don't follow it themselves. Like paying taxes. You know, rich guy wrote the tax law, and then he doesn't pay taxes. And then all the small guys are paying taxes and struggling to live and get their basic needs met. Yeah.
So, I mean,
interesting.
Yeah. So maybe following the rule is depending on who's writing the rule.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully we're all voting for these rules to pass or not pass. I heard that expression. Hey, I didn't vote for that rule, so I'm not going to be held to it. I got a great example of turning on the switch of following the rules and turning it off. Say we all go to a concert and the favorite band comes up. Let's break the rules and rush the stage and have a good time.
Yeah.
Then the concert overs, and I hope that when everybody leaves, the ones who are drunk don't get behind the wheel. We all flip that switch back on and get rides home, or you drive safely out of the parking lot so that people don't have to die because they wanted to go to a concert. Let's flip that switch back on and start following the rules to get out and home safely. So that everybody goes home safely. Because it's not always the drunk driver that dies. It's sometimes people hit by the drunk driver.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there are different, again, like what we've been saying, like degrees or levels to the rules, but like, I know like some bands will have to pay a fee if they go past a certain hour, but yet, the fans are been billing it, so they're kind of like put in this awkward stage, whether do we follow the rule and end the show, and a lot of people are maybe disappointed because we didn't give them what we can really give them if we break the rule.
I got another one. How about the concert where there was a rule on the building? They had a capacity, a maximum capacity of people that could be allowed in the building. Mm-hmm. They exceeded that, and then the building wasn't zoned for pyrotechnics, but then they broke that rule. So this concert was going on. They ran the pyrotechnics and it set the roof on fire. And then this overfilled building that was filled beyond capacity, they all tried to rush out of the building and they all got stuck in the door, and a shit ton of people died. And it's like, all right, two very simple rules that seemed simple enough to break led to a bunch of people dying when all they wanted to do was go to a concert. So to follow or not to follow the rules, there are times to follow it and times not to, and I just hope everybody around me, which isn't always the case, I hope people around me know when that is and when it isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes we're willing to bend the rules because it means a lot of people are happy, but yet that happiness can go the other way real quick.
Yeah.
But damn, yeah, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
Where maybe the band was adding too many people to their guest list, and they oversold tickets, or I don't know. It's just, it can happen to where you're stuffing a lot of people in a place. Yeah. Well, not now. I mean, we're talking about concerts. Like we were just at a concert the other night,
or like a soccer stadium collapses because there's too many people there. And we're doing a lot of bad examples of breaking the rules. How about somebody who doesn't break the rules? They're driving 70 miles an hour on a freeway when everybody around them is going 100 miles an hour. Somebody's going to crash into that 75 mile an hour driver who's driving the speed limit, but somebody's going to crash into them because they're going too slow. So there you go. There's a time and a place.
Well, what about the team that wins the championship and the fans aren't supposed to rush the court, but they do?
And it's awesome, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in good spirit, celebration, but yet it's not like, I mean, you're gonna, where's the cops? I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I mean, that situation could go bad, but kids that are happy that their team won, I mean, I don't know, it's almost like, like picking and choosing, because,
it's tough.
Do you want to say you were safe at the end of the day, or do you want to say, hey, I let them have fun, Drawing that line, or knowing the middle ground, I guess, but...
Yeah, I'll be a bad guy on that. A while back, there was I think it was like a high school team, and the people rushed the court, and somebody was excited, and they tackled the MVP, and the kid died. I can't remember who it was, but the kid died. He got tackled too hard or something, like he got trampled or something, and it was just excited fans rushing to the court because they won. And the fucking kid died. It's a I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like in a certain aspect we can be in celebration mode, but in another, you know, putting somebody in danger and then they lose their life.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think it comes down to common sense. You know what I mean? Like you can march the streets after, you know, your favorite, your town's, your city's basketball team wins, and everybody's out in the streets celebrating. You know, maybe it shuts down traffic for a while, but then it's okay. And there's other times where they're celebrating and they start tipping cars over and burning establishments down and like partying too hard. You know, and then there's damages. So I think I just want to be in a world. I want people to be safe, while at the same time I want us to not be so conformist that we're not living our lives. We're not allowed to live our own lives. And like you said, it's a balance. I think there's just a huge balance. It's a balancing act. And I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Well, then they need to follow the rules. Just kidding.
No, that's good. That's a good thing to end on. Like I think I got my boy. He's chomping at the bit. He's knocking on the door. I think we gotta shut this down. I think that was a good thing to end on. We gotta follow the rules. Keep everybody safe. If you want to live your life,
for the most part,
yeah, for the most part. I want a for most part world out there.
No, you read between the lines of the rule.
Yes. You got to understand why there's a rule. You got to understand when to break the rule. And there's understanding and knowledge in that. And
where the rule came from,
Yeah.
The origin of the rule.
Who's writing the rule? Who's making the rule? I think it comes down to intelligence. Huh?
I said who jacked up and they had to make this rule.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody messed up and ruined it for the rest of us.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Live and learn.
Yeah, live and learn. If you live, then you better learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you want to stay living, you got to stay learning.
There you go. Words to live by. All right.
Don't listen to me, man. I don't listen to me. I make no sense. Listeners,
don't pay attention to this guy.
Yeah, we're just making noise.
Just throwing it out there.
Someone told us we could start a podcast.
We're just like kids with a gun. It's just like look down the barrel. Like,
rules.
All right.
It's like manual, the manual. No manual. We're just improvising.
Start playing with a gun, a loaded gun. All right. Thanks for coming in, guys. Like I said, I'm sorry. I've been really struggling this past week to get myself moved out. It's almost going to be over, and I hope you guys just work with us. Until next week. It's a couple days from now. We got to do another post.
Yeah.
All right.
Do it. All right.
I'm hitting the big red button. Later, guys.
Peace.